An unspeakable act of hostility reminiscent of the Cold War. That's how top European officials are describing the latest revelations of cyber spying by Washington on its European allies, where the details are revealed by the former security analyst Edward Snowden and are published in Germany's Der Spiegel magazine. It's claimed the United States National Security Agency bugged European Union officers in Washington and at the United Nations. They listened to conversations and phone calls and accessed documents and emails. Well, European leaders are furious. The President of the European Parliament said it would be an extremely serious matter which would have a severe impact on EU-US relations. The French Foreign Minister, Laurent Fabius, said that these acts, if confirmed, would be completely unacceptable. And the German Justice Minister said the alleged US behaviour recalls the methods used by enemies during the Cold War. It defies belief that our friends in the US see the Europeans as their enemies, to quote. Well, partners do not spy on each other, said EU Justice Commissioner Viviane Reding. We cannot negotiate over a big transatlantic market if there's the slightest doubt that our partners are carrying out spying activities in the offices of our negotiators. There's been very little US reaction so far, but Secretary of State John Kerry was pressed on the issue by journalists at the Asian summit a short time ago. He had this to say.
Every country in the world that is engaged in international affairs of national security undertakes lots of activities to protect its national security, and all kinds of information contributes to that. And all I know is that that is not unusual for lots of nations. But beyond that, I'm not going to comment any further until I have all of the facts and find out precisely what the situation is.
OK, with us now, Jean Jaffray, who's a French commentator and journalist living in London. As a journalist, you'll be naturally sceptical and some would say cynical. So are you surprised by this story?
Not really. I'm not really surprised, because, I mean, someone just said that I don't think a state has friends. For instance, your Prime Minister is always talking about putting interests of Britain first, you know. But I think the politicians have to show that they were shocked. Some are shocked because they may be naive. But I think the reaction until now is quite subdued, because it's an acceptable clarification and we wait for an answer. So I think it's some embarrassment, because, I mean, I think for all European countries, it might be difficult to be too confrontational with the states.
So it's embarrassing to be caught, really? Is that what you're saying? Rather than embarrassing that it's actually been going on, i.e. that most people are complicit, that this actually happened?
I suppose every European countries or other country in the world do spying. I mean, I listened to a program on a French radio, France Inter. It's called Mr. X, and it's always about stories by intelligence services. And what they've been doing all the last decades is terrifying. So, I mean, it's not new. But I think the problem is that there are two stories. There is the spying of supposed allied country, and there's this ongoing story about surveillance on a very large scale, unknown until now.
Yes. So outrage expressed, and they're very strong rhetoric that we've been hearing this morning on behalf, let's say, of the general populations that are affected. From the politicians' perspective, though, diplomacy is about trust still. And what about these trade agreements? Can they really move forward? Could they have been damaged going forward as a result of this?
I think at the moment they might have to postpone the beginning of talks, because it would be indecent to start talks with the state, because apparently the state considers even Germany like a target for cyber attack, or France or Italy. But I mean, on the French left, like Jean-Luc Mélenchon, I mean, he asked to delay the talks, and Marine Le Pen, the extreme right, asked, because she's in favor of withdrawal from Europe, she asked to cancel the talk completely. And this is a big story, and because I think the Americans were spying Brussels officers, because they want to know disagreement between the European countries, because for the negotiation it could be useful for them to know which country agree with some part of the draft, or other country who don't agree for the stuff. But I think there might be a strong reaction by the European Parliament, But until now, we don't have heard much from the European Commission.
Yes, and as you say, that's the politics, and then we still have this issue of the sort of personal freedoms being infringed by this same spying technology.
And because of this revelation, I mean, in France, there are the Green Party, which has 2 ministers in the government, socialist government. They're asking for France to give asylum to Edward Snowden. And Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who is a kind of a maverick politician on the left, he's asking too that France would give asylum to Edward.
Do you think that's likely?
Well, the Socialist Party said, well, we can't say because he hasn't asked yet.
Right, yet. Well, we'll have to see what happens there. Interesting. Jean, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you.
My pleasure.